Welcome to Into the Blue, presented by Penelope Bourbon, a weekly look behind the scenes of the Tampa Bay Lightning with reporters Gabby, Shirley, and Ben Pierce.
Oh, hello, and welcome to another episode of Into the Blue. Gabby, Shirley here alongside Ben Pierce. We are recording this Monday morning from our respective homes following a tough Tampa Bay Lightning loss. Ben, how are you this morning?
I'm good. A little bit tired. You can tell I've got the sweatshirt on and you're rocking the professional blazer look today. So two very different energies this morning.
Well, there is an on-camera shoot that I have to look forward to later on today. So I have a reason.
That's what I'll keep telling myself. You look great and I look like a bum, and we're just going to let that slide. That's all right.
You stop that. All right, we're going to get right into it because both of us have to get to a Lightning practice this morning. Our first topic, Ben, that we wanted to discuss, we wanted to make it positive again after a tough loss on Sunday night to the Vancouver Canucks. First topic, what were you calling the line?
The big guys.
The big guys line.
Or the big boys. Take your pick.
The Douglas, Finley, Sabrin line that has been together for the past 3 games. They've combined for 6 points. That was before, again, that game against the Canucks. Sabrin, he started off with a goal, right? And his other 2 line mates had the assists. Then Jack Finley with the game-winning goal against the Florida Panthers. His 2 line mates had the assists. They've been playing really well, Ben, right? They're physical. They're getting onto the score sheet with some offense. What have you seen from this line that either surprised you or just really impresses you?
Listen, I had a Florida Panthers fan reply to one of my tweets the other night, and I laughed because this guy was really upset for the sole reason. He said, we just got beat by the Tampa Bay Lightning's AHL line, is what he called it. And
Rude.
first off, the disrespect when, they score the game-winning goal. But, I thought it was funny because everybody saw the roster moves with Sabrin and Boris Tkachuk getting called up the other day before the Florida game. And they thought, here we go. The Tampa Bay Lightning are coming to continue the preseason stuff. And instead, what does Scott Sabrin, the guy who's known for his fighting and physicality over his NHL career, 32 years old, I believe it is. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Shirley. 33 maybe.
Yep.
Yeah. And instead, he comes down on a 2-on-1 and absolutely snipes. It was an absolutely disgusting shot.
Pretty.
It was insane. And everybody's been talking about it. It's we asked the question, did you know that Sabo had that in his arsenal? And Curtis Douglas told us, yeah, he's got some puck skills. And you learned, obviously, you asked him, they fought, I believe, right? In the past.
Yeah, fun fact that you and I found out, they were both in the AHL. Ben, I got the facts a little bit wrong based on what Douglas told me, but a fan on X sent me the fight, which was great, so I was able to watch it. It was November 5th, 2022. Douglas was with the Toronto Marlies. Sabrin was with the Belleville Senators. I watched the fight. I'm not the best judge, I wouldn't say, but Sabrin was a bit more active with the punches, but Douglas had a good hold on him, so it didn't look like any of them really landed. And then Douglas eventually wrestled Sabrin to the ground, and the fight was over.
Yeah, and I'll turn it over to you on this note, but especially specifically against the Florida Panthers, they were the team's best line. They were really, really good. They only played just over 6 minutes, but they were really, really good. And then even last night against the Vancouver Canucks, that line had the Canucks hemmed in their defensive zone early in that first period, one that the Lightning ended up out shooting Vancouver 13-1 before the wheels kind of fell off. But they were a big reason that kind of energy and that just momentum started. They've done a really, really good job on the forecheck, and we'll see what happens, hopefully with some healthy guys coming back, knock on wood, in the next couple of days. But you have to love what the big guys have brought. They've been fantastic. And like you said, a couple of first NHL points. It's been really good. The fans are loving it. They love this line. And that's all you can say is when they got called upon, they've been fantastic through 3 games.
And Ben, how about those back-to-back chances for Sabrin in the game last night, right? I thought he was going to score again.
That crossbar, that it didn't make, and it might have been hard to tell on the TV. He hit that crossbar so squarely with his shot that it did not make a noise in arena.
Yeah, that's insane.
We had to watch on the TV to make sure, I think that was crossbar, but it didn't you didn't get the ping, you didn't get anything. it would like they're creating chances, and it's mostly off the forecheck. And I think if you're that line, that's what you have to keep bringing. And I'm sure when people saw Scott Sabourin get called up, they figured he'll be here for a couple of games and then go back down. We'll see if that's the case. But I mean, the guy's got a goal and assist in 3 games. He's brought the physicality. It's just another case of the Syracuse guys coming up and saying, you might have to think twice before you send me back. So good for Sabo, and Kachuk's been good too, but you got to love what that trio of big guys has brought.
Yeah. And right, Ben, off the ice, we're getting to know these guys a little bit more. It's been fun with Curtis Douglas and Jack Finley. They're kind of going through their first NHL seasons together. Douglas, 25 years old, Finley, 23 years old. Douglas has 12 NHL games, all from this year. Finley has 8 NHL games, 1 from last season where he made his NHL debut. So those two are really developing a friendship, and again, can kind of bounce things off of each other just as far as, hey, when do I have to be ready for the bus on this road trip because they're new, as well as what can we do to attack this team because they're playing on the same line. And then Scott Sabourin, a bit older, you mentioned 33 years old, 50 NHL games from 6 seasons starting in 1920. So he's been around the block a little bit. Ben, I did ask Douglas, and it was a pregame bench interview, so he didn't really dive into specifics, but just like what he's been able to learn from him. And he said, like, he is so knowledgeable, like we go over things, and yes, I'm constantly picking his brain. So it's fun, again, to watch the chemistry grow. We see it on the ice, but also like friendships off the ice. So I've enjoyed that part.
Yeah, we can move on to a less positive topic here in just a second, but the last thing I want to add about Sabourin is if you watch that Florida Panthers game, Scott Sabourin challenged AJ Greer no less than 3 to 4 times to fight. AJ Greer wants no part of Scott Sabourin. He went after Aaron Ekblad and said, okay, I know we've got some beef. Do you want to settle this and fight? Aaron Ekblad turtles and says, no, thank you. Like there is a real intimidation factor that comes from Scott Sabourin. And we saw, I think, a much less physical Battle of Florida than we probably anticipated. We didn't see a single fight. I mean, we saw one against Vancouver, right? We saw a fight and we didn't see one against Florida. So I'm sure that wasn't anybody's bingo card, but you cannot discredit the fact that just Sabourin being in the lineup and even Douglas to the same degree, I think Florida might think twice about some of the stuff that we've seen in the past. So it's been a good dynamic.
It really has. Okay. Less positive topic, the Tampa Bay Lightning power play. At this stage of the game, Ben, 4th worst in the NHL, converting only 15.3% of the time. The Tampa Bay Lightning have actually had the 5th most power play time on average per game at 5 minutes and 48 seconds. 0 for 9 over the last 3 games. We've seen some different looks. It's a little bit harder now with the Lightning dealing with injuries, but we've seen different looks, different personnel in different places on the ice. Like they're trying different things, but somehow it is still not working. Does anything stand out to you in regards to what is going wrong or how they can improve?
It's been pretty brutal. And that's tough because last year it was almost a guarantee that if you give the Tampa Bay Lightning 2 power plays in a single game, they're scoring once at least, right? It was so good last year. And I don't know if you can attribute it to any one single thing. I think a little bit is that frustration. And we heard from Jay Gensel last night postgame. And he said it is frustrating. Because you get this advantage. And last night, they're up 2-1. They get a power play with a chance to maybe extend their lead, and they don't score. And then moments later, what happens? The Vancouver Canucks get a power play of their own, and against a Lightning PK that's been fantastic this year, all of a sudden the Canucks scored 2 power play goals. It's a tie game, and things unravel across the rest of the 3rd period. Yeah, but that's how momentum works. That's how this power play works. I think for me on the Lightning power play, their best chance last night was by Jake Gensel. And it's because Nikita Kucherov waited in the corner. Gents drove to the front of the net. Shot comes to the slot. Gents gets a fantastic look, attempts to slip at 5-hole. It doesn't go in, but that puck is going toward the net. Right. I think a lot of times this season, what we've seen is the Lightning look for that perfect passing play. And when I say that, it's a lot of perimeter passes, right? They're moving it up top. They're kind of, and what you're doing is, it's good to try to draw guys to you in that way, but if you do it for too long, last night, before that Gensel chance, it was like 60 seconds of the top 3 guys in the power play, just going back and forth and back and forth. If you do that too long, a lot of times what you'll see is the penalty killers, they sink in towards their own net and they say, I'm going to let you pass this around the perimeter, because the odds of you scoring on a shot from the sideboards from way up top
with all of us in tight,
super low, because we're either going to block it or our goalie's going to save it, and then we'll clear it and take our chances. You're almost killing the penalty for them.
Yeah.
Just by passing that puck. I would like to see a little bit of a more of a shooter's mentality. And I don't think you can just shoot every time you get the puck, because then you're going to have the same effect of, okay, clear it down after one shot and try again. But there does need to be some urgency. And I think it's just funneling pucks to the net. You know, that Gensel chance, I don't think at the beginning anybody thought it was going to be that dangerous of a look. And all of a sudden, it's a grade A chance, Gensel in all alone. But you can't get that if the puck's not going to the net. And I think that's been the biggest issue so far.
Yeah. And as you set that up, Ben, like when the Tampa Bay Lightning have this opportunity and they don't convert, because it's been a bit of an issue this season, it is a momentum swing in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the frustration, Jake Gensel, Braden Point, they were both asked about it last night. And I meant to listen to the quote again, so forgive me. But I think Jake Gensel said in so many words, like, frustration is the worst thing in hockey. Because, right, you get tied up mentally, you're gripping your stick too tight. Like, it just doesn't work. And the Tampa Bay Lightning players on that top power play unit are definitely feeling it. And hopefully, again, practice today. Hopefully, like, something will click, change, switch for them to get on a roll. They're not going to score on the power play every time. No one does, but they need to be more productive when they have the man advantage.
Yeah, and we'll see, right? We started the year with Victor Hedman on that top power play unit. In recent weeks, we've seen Darren Radish kind of take over that spot, and then Heddy slide down to the second power play. Now, obviously, with Hedman missing these last couple of games, the power play is all sorts of jumbled with personnel, no Anthony Cirelli. Like, things do look very different. But we'll see today at practice, maybe, if we see some more personnel changes, because to their credit, they have tried guys in different spots. They've tried moving some stuff around, and they're just going to have to keep grinding away at it. I know that's not always fun to hear if you're a fan, maybe. When right now, was it tonight? I believe it's 29th in the NHL after last night, the power play, just over 15%. But that's all you can do is just keep trying, try new things, and see what you can do. At the end of the day, get pucks to the net and make that penalty kill panic a little bit. That's really what you're trying to do.
You talk about the upcoming practice. Perhaps we will have more info to add on this subject. We can put it out on X, Ben, but injuries, they've been an issue for the Lightning. But I guess silver lining, right? The team playing the Florida Panthers without some of their biggest names, and the Lightning end up winning that game. So it's possible. However, these players are missed. Ben, I think we could just kind of take some shifts here on grouping players based on potential returns. And I will start with Brandon Hagel coming back in the game against the Vancouver Canucks. And when we asked John Cooper about the injuries prior to the Panthers game, he put Hagel, Cirelli, and Hedman in that quickest to return group. Cirelli's missed the past 4 games. Cooper said potentially returning on Tuesday. Hedman has missed the past 3 and also potentially returning on Tuesday. Then we have another 3 that Cooper said after Tuesday, Ben, in Holmberg, Paul, McDonough. And then James is like the lowest category as far as, hey, it's not a pain threshold. It's just a safety thing because he got a puck to the face.
Yeah. And it's tough too, because those tiers, it feels like, have kind of shifted a little bit, right? I mean, as of the last thing we heard about Brandon Hagel before, luckily seeing him last night, and he had a good game again last night against Vancouver, but Brandon Hagel was technically in the week-to-week injury category as of the other day, because Coop kind of said he could play the next game, or it could be a lot longer than that. And he said the frustrating part is you really don't know right now. Obviously, whatever happened, you don't want to assume maybe it's a concussion test. Maybe it's something else where he has to pass like an NHL mandated threshold. We never really heard an official ruling on what that injury was. But when you look at that, the fact that that Hags played was a good sign. But even Paulie, right? We're wondering when he's going to make his debut. We've heard the timelines shifted a little bit. Might be sooner, might be later. The good thing about all of this is there are guys on the ice, right? We've seen Anthony Cirelli in practice. Nick Paul's been a steady participant at practice.
Yep.
Hopefully today, like you said, we see maybe a Victor Hedman, a Pontus Holmberg. We'll wait and see what happens this morning. But if there is kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, it's not like these guys are getting hurt and we haven't seen them in 2 weeks all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
They're around. So hopefully nothing is too serious. But the thing about these injuries as well that we should mention is this team is not accepting that as an excuse, right? We just talked about the step up that Scott Sabourin's taken, and Max Crozier has played really well this season still. Like, John Cooper got asked about the injuries the other day after a post game, and he pretty passionately said, let's not talk about the injuries because we have a team in here that's good enough to win. And if you look at last night's first period, the Lightning up 1-0 against the Vancouver Canucks, outshot them 13-1. Now, the Lightning, that's the fewest shots on goal they've allowed this season. It's only happened, I believe it's 7 times over the last 10 years. Over the last 10 years that the Lightning have held the team to that few shots on goal. They believe in this group. With all of these guys out, they still believe they have a team that's good enough to win. And at times, they've very much shown that over these last 2, 3, 4 games. So they are not accepting that as an excuse. But let's be real. You'd much rather have Victor Hedman, Ryan McDonough, Anthony Cirelli, and all these guys in your lineup. So the sooner the better. But it does help knowing that they're confident enough that they don't have to rush anybody back per se.
And then along those lines, we're going to swing on over to our Blue Line segment where we answer your questions. So everyone who wrote in questions, and those questions came after that loss to Vancouver, thank you so much because there were a lot of good ones. This first one, Ben, I know you know the answer, from Garrett. With Hedman and McDonough out for the past few games, who has been assigned as the new alternate captains, assuming Kucherov is still wearing the other A?
Well, it's we saw Hags wear it for a couple of minutes against the New York Rangers the night before leaving, but Hagel and Jake Gensel have had the A's, and when you look at that, it's a couple of great options for this team. You know, like two guys that have really stepped up these last couple of years, and Gens. I mean, you want to talk about learning how to be a captain. I know the Tampa Bay Lightning have had plenty of great leaders over the years, but for a guy who played on the wing next to Sidney Crosby, who's captained some Stanley Cup winners, Team Canada, go down the list over and over again, and just really leads in the way he plays, right? Jake Gensel, we said it a couple weeks ago, has been probably the most consistent player for the Tampa Bay Lightning all year. He's one of those guys who's just going to keep getting after it and keep putting up points and scoring and doing all the right things defensively. They've got a couple of good leaders, and I think there's not many teams out there that you could lose 2 assistant captains and instantly go, hey, these guys are ready to go. Let's put the A on and let's get after it. The Lightning have had that luxury. So it was good to see, I think, both Gens and Hags get recognized for that and wear the A. And we'll see. Again, hopefully those temporary A's aren't out for too long, but it's been good to see.
Now, Ben, forgive me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but right, Wednesday versus Rangers, it was Cooch, who always has the A, Gensel, and Hagel. Then Panthers game where Hagel was absent, Point wore the A, along with Gensel and Cooch. And to my knowledge, in the Vancouver game was the same 3 from the Florida game. Cooch, Gensel, Point, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, Hag wore it and then was hurt, and now we're just rolling with those 3. Kucherov, Gensel, Point. Yeah,
and again, Point's been here for a long time. He's won Stanley Cups. He scores from everywhere over his career. Like, it's you've got options, and there's not many teams out there that could, again, lose multiple guys wearing letters and then have options as to who should get it next. So credit to those guys. And again, let's hope that temporary letters are very temporary.
Ben, you want to read this next question? I think we're both going to comment on it, but you go first.
Yes, from NHL, but in MS Paint. What's some media industry etiquette us fans wouldn't know about when it comes to being around the team and coaches? And girls, I know you've seen the greatest and the worst in this category. So what bugs you the most? And then maybe what's the best form of etiquette that you've seen?
Okay. Well, Ben, I loved this question. I don't know about you, but like I actually had to really think about it, and we could do it. Guys, I'm really sorry. I'm bad about asking for questions farther in advance and taking it to the source. But this one was one that like if I just reflected, I could give you some answers. So I liked that the thinking part. I was stewing over this for a bit. And Ben, nothing like that bugs me really, but just some things that I think are interesting that fans wouldn't know. First thing that came to my mind is no stepping on the Tampa Bay Lightning logo.
Yep.
There is a massive white Lightning logo on the floor, like in the carpet, stitched in the carpet, in the Lightning's locker room. And the first thing, if there are any visitors, players, kids, honorary captains, anyone that walks into the room, they must hear that 25 times from random people, players included. And sometimes people still step on the logo. But yes, it is just what you don't do. And then on the road, Ben, I'm pretty sure they lay one down. Perhaps when I get in there for post game, it's already packed up, but I think it exists on the road too. So like I'm constantly reminding camera guys, people that I'm working with, like, hey, yeah, we're going in this way. Don't step on the logo because you'll hear about it if you do. Someone will call you out and it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
So that was the first one I thought of. What comes to your mind? I have a couple others I can add too.
I think one of the other things is like you can ask some questions, but try not to take too much of the guy's time, right? Like it's something that you don't really think about, but obviously you get into a conversation with an NHL player, and I think sometimes we can get lost in the okay, one more question kind of thing because they say something interesting and you're like, oh, I want to revisit that.
Yes.
But if all of a sudden it's been 10 minutes and these guys have places to go, they've got workouts post practice, they've got to get to maybe a public visit for the Lightning Foundation Community Fund. Like you have to be like, just have some common sense as far as I appreciate you taking the time, which is why I'm not going to take too much of it. Yes. And it can be easy to just kind of fall down the rabbit hole of, okay, that's a great answer. Let's ask another one. But you do have to remember these are human beings who have lives outside of the locker room media scrum. So, and all the guys are fantastic. I'll say, like, they're never going to say, hey, okay, let's wrap this up. But you try to keep that in the back of your mind. So, other than that, I really think it's just come prepared, right? You don't want to ask a dumb question because all of a sudden the guy's going to be like, who are you? Like, what are we doing here? Well, why am I answering this question if you don't know what's going on? So just really making sure you're prepared and know what's going on. And maybe specifically if you're talking to a player, having some questions ready. So, and John Cooper, I'm sure his list of media etiquette would be much longer than ours, given sometimes when we ask the how question, don't avoid the how questions.
Yes, all good points. The other thing, and maybe this is less media but just like travel things, Ben, that come to my mind, and it just is what it is. And I also always think like I'm not the athlete. I am not battling in this game tomorrow, but like we take from the plane, there are 2 buses to get us to the hotels on the road. There's a player bus and then a staff bus. That's all coaches, myself, TV crew. And no matter who gets off the bus first, like get out of the way and let the players get on in there, right? Like it's just what you do. Even if the players are minutes behind you, like you just wait. We do combine buses going to games. There's a first bus and a second bus, and I'm always on the first bus. And I sit like kind of in the middle. It's like coaches at the front, then my crew, players in the back. And then when the bus gets to the arena, I don't know if you think like first people get off first. No, everyone sits, all the players get off from the very back of the bus, then you get off, right? It's just like little things. But if were on day 2 of my stint here and the bus stopped at the Panthers arena and I hopped off first, like everyone would look at me like I was out of my mind. It's just what you do. So there are a bunch of like little things that might seem silly or whatever, and you just gotta stay in line. So these are things that come to my mind, and still at the beginning of every season I gotta like refresh my memory on, okay, what bus is this? Where am I supposed to be sitting? Like it's funny. It's funny.
I know you always have your checklist of what's going on. So you're always prepared.
you got to be on it. Okay, the second part to this question, how does the broadcast decide who to mic up? Do the players have it written in their contracts to participate? And to my knowledge, Ben, there are, and I feel that every team should do it this way. I don't know if that's the case, but there are, I think this season, I'm totally guessing, maybe 7 players, give or take, that are willing to wear the mic. Other players have said no, and no is their answer. It is not in their contract that they have to or that they don't have to. But our team staff, PR, our camera crew, Lightning Vision, they know who is willing to wear the microphone. And based on that, they pick and choose who they want when they want them.
Yeah, and that's straight from the source there. It's from our expert. It's from our expert right there. So some guys are all in on the media and want to be mic'd up and others aren't, and that is totally their right. Speaking of right, something that I've found to be just fine is Penelope Bourbon. And with that, this season, Penelope Bourbon is a proud partner of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Whether you're cheering at Benchmark International Arena or you're raising a glass at home, as I occasionally do, Penelope brings fans together, one pour, one moment, one win at a time. You can find Penelope Bourbon at Publix or right here at Benchmark International Arena. You can take that and go Bolts. And with that, Shirls, our plus minus segment, I am going to force you to go first. What is your plus?
Oh, I love this, Ben, because I'm totally going against quote unquote media etiquette.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
I believe I previously mentioned before the Vancouver Canucks game on the bench, I did a bench interview with Curtis Douglas. Ben, the rule, as you have learned, because you filled in for me a few times here when I was on the pregame show with player like arrival interviews, not when we're in the locker room in a casual setting, but an arrival interview, a bench interview, like it's 3 questions. Sometimes during an intermission, if we're not playing as well as everyone would like, I keep it to 2 questions, never more than 3 though. So Douglas, I had 3 questions for him on the bench. The last one, just talking about how his line was going to attack this game, something pretty broad, pretty general. And he talked about like being good defensively, being physical, something like that. And I added, because it's the reason why we're talking to all of them, like, but hey, you might get some offense too. And I gave the mic back to him for him to just say like, haha, yeah. And then I thought he was going to skate away. And he proceeded, Ben. And again, getting to know Curtis Douglas, Finley, Sabrin, all of them, like they're great guys. My plus is that Douglas proceeded, after I gave the mic back, after my allotted 3 questions, to give a shout out to his family who had just arrived in Australia and were watching the game. Like,
oh, wow.
I just loved it. I want to give a shout out to my family every time I have the microphone. I cannot do that, but an NHL player can absolutely do that. And he did. And I thought that was so lovely. So that was my plus. It was an unexpected surprise that came when I kind of broke the rules. So, whoops.
Oh, that's great. Maybe you should have asked, you start asking guys, do you have anything you'd like to say to the Shirley family before we go?
That'd
Maybe
be crazy.
The players can start giving your family a shout out.
That'd be crazy.
Awesome. That's good. Australia. That would be sweet. That's a fun trip.
Yeah. Apparently I followed that up with, I met his mom when she was here for his debut, and I followed that up with a text to her, and she's from Australia. She sent me a photo, Ben. It looked like it was photoshopped with the background, the water, the bridge. Very jealous.
Yeah. That's one of those times where I'm like, I'm definitely from Wisconsin, because that doesn't even sound real.
So cool.
That's
Your
sweet.
plus.
My plus. Again, a week where we had a couple of options. My plus is kind of a long road, but there's been some construction by our new house, which sucks. Nobody likes construction. But my plus is that I don't know if it's a heat thing, and maybe you know the answer to this, but they're doing all the construction at night, like overnight, which means that during the day, I saw that all the traffic cones and everything go up, and I'm like, oh God, this is going to be a nightmare trying to get to and from the rink every day. It's just like normal during the day. Now my drive home at 11 p.m. is kind of a little bit slower, but there's a third of the people on the road, so it's not a big deal. So my plus is I'm not sure if it's because of the Florida heat or what the rule is on that, but the nighttime construction, which I'm sure the guys don't love that are out there doing the construction. But my plus is that despite a major road being fixed by me, my travel has not been impacted very much. So knock on wood, holy cow, I shouldn't jinx that. I just realized in the moment. But so far, the road construction has not impacted me. So that's a plus.
I love that so much. I wish I had an answer on why they're doing it at night,
Whether
whether it's
homework here.
Florida weather or like just less traffic in general to deal with. But yeah, love that.
Yeah, I'm all for it. So construction is a minus sometimes, but it's necessary. Shirls, what is your minus?
Again, another example of me having a great week. I couldn't think of a minus, Ben, until I sat down at my computer. Some self-reflection, evaluation. You know this for a fact that I don't think on any of these podcast recordings you have hopped on after I have hopped on. Somehow, Ben, if I am 15 minutes early, did my hair, put some lipstick on, like got my notes ready, I can't just sit down and get ready for the podcast. I'm like thinking about chopping up the chicken for dinner in 3 nights. Like I'm using every possible available second. And then I look at the clock. We were recording this at 9 a.m. on Monday and I see it's 8:59 and then I'm scrambling. Like, what's wrong with me? My minus is that I need to prioritize like being just a little bit early and not taking those extra 5 minutes to do something completely irrelevant. Like, get it together. That's my
you're gonna start locking yourself in the podcast room. Put a child-safe lock on the outside and then text Clay well, Clay's probably at work, right?
Oh, well, Clay, my husband, was home at about 8:54, to which I was yelling at him like, I need you to get out. Like, you're distracting me and there's a podcast recording. No, I don't need you crawling on the floor behind me to leave at 9:15. Like, just go.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so that's fair. That's a good minus though, because definitely been there where you look at the clock and go, oh God.
Evaluation. Like I'm not usually late, Ben, but I'm always right there. I'm knocking on the door of late.
Always full speed. Cheryl's always on the move at a fast pace.
Your minus.
My minus this week is copy and paste. And copy and paste. That's my minus.
Are we gonna leave it right there?
We're gonna leave it right there. I think like there are times like in the game notes sometimes too where I will be like, oh, this is a good note for the next game as well. Copy and paste, and then you overthink it, you overlook it, and you don't check to make sure that it's still accurate. And all of a sudden, I'm scrambling to edit stuff, and copy and paste is dangerous, especially in the communications journalism world. So that's my minus: is copy and paste. Do the work, right? That's gotta be better.
Agree. It's a useful tool, but you gotta use it correctly.
Yeah. So that's my minus: is copy and paste.
And with that, we're going to wrap it up. We are just over 30 minutes, which is good timing again, because Ben and I have to get to Lightning practice on this lovely Monday. 3 games coming up this week before we talk to you again. Tuesday at home against the Devils, Thursday at home, against the Oilers, Saturday on the road against the Washington Capitals. Can't wait for those 3 games. It's been great talking to you, Ben, and I'll see you in like 15 minutes.
Enjoy your 15-minute break from me. I can't wait to annoy you all over again in 20 minutes. I will see you soon.
Yeah, bye.
See you guys.